Traditions, values, culture. These are the things that help us remember where we came from. It's time for Family Heritage Stories with your host, Doug Jessop.
Hi, this is Doug Jessop. Welcome to Family Heritage Stories, where we talk about what makes us who we are. Things like traditions, values, culture. How are these things passed down from generation to generation? Through words, through deeds, through stories. Everyone has unique skills and talents. My grandfather was a furniture maker by trade, but as a kid, I remember him always having a camera. Well, those old films and those old pictures influenced me to become a broadcaster. How did you get into your occupation?
Wearing 00, a teddy bear kind of guy. From East Grand Forks, Minnesota, John Abzey.
Wow, that was pretty amazing. that was Dan Robert-esque right there.
So for people that don't know Dan Roberts and the little comment there and, you know, the teddy bear and all kinds of stuff, introduce yourself.
My name is John Abzey. I was the original jazz bear for 25 years. And I got out here, like you said, I was from East Grand Forks, Minnesota, and by complete chance and luck, I made it to Utah to be the mascot for the Jazz.
How in the world did you get in to be a jazz bear in the first place?
It was totally by accident. It actually found me. I had worked in a bunch of CBA teams, which was the Continental Basketball Association, while I was in college. Because when I was in college, I was going to Morehead State University for political science and pre-law. And I was, as a part-time job, I was working for the Fargo-Moorhead Acro team. And I lied on my application and said I was a gymnast. And I went in and I just would watch what everybody else was doing to correct gymnastic movements.
Okay.
And I just taught myself. And then after classes, I would stick around and I literally taught myself how to tumble and how to do backflips.
In basketball, okay, here is, you know, they're going to do a screen, they're going to do blah, 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 blah. Is there kind of a vernacular of say, okay, this is the name of the skit or the action or the play. Say, okay, you know, Bear, I want you to do this. You know, because for example, everybody knows, and I think you're mildly crazy to do this, but the one going down the stairs.
Yep.
Okay. Does that have a name? Or is it just going down the stairs?
Just going down the stairs, yeah.
Okay.
It's just my sled. So I was really fortunate with our team that, you know, Grant Harrison trusted me so much. He literally, you know, like when I got there, he was just like, listen, you're the mascot, I'm not. And he goes, you know, I'm trusting that you know what you're doing. And he also said, I'm going to give you enough rope to hang yourself, so don't hang yourself.
Well, he's a great guy, so I understand.
Yeah, he's awesome. He is really what helped get the character to where it was, because he took the time to listen and understand what was going on and looked at both sides. So he was an integral part to where the program went. Plus, you know, back in the day, everybody in the organization that, you know, put their hands in to help a little bit here and there. But, you know, all in all, I was kind of an island, and they trusted me enough to do what I was doing, if that makes sense. You know, I know a million times I'd walk in with these ideas on what to do. Like one time I wanted to parachute out of the upper bowl, or out of the rafters.
Okay.
And we went in and we practiced with the dummy doll, and it was just a round chute. And it was actually because I was in the military, and it was a parachute that I had found, and it was for an incendiary round, or a illumination round for him to parachute in. And I thought, that might hold me, at least slow me down enough so I can hit. We went in and we practiced, and I remember they were just like, no. You're
like,
not
the liability
yeah.
on you has got to be insane, right?
So, I mean, that was fun. I mean, they at least let me try, you know, and think way outside the box.
The last words that my grandfather said were, "Please remember me." This is Doug Jessop. It would be my honor to help you share your story with a private in-studio interview with a video for you to keep. Go to FamilyHeritageStories.com for pricing and to schedule your interview. Part of Family Heritage Stories is passing down stories from generation to generation. So here's a question that just about everybody can answer, but I will say my favorite was from a 103-year-old woman named Romaine. Okay, so you ready for this question? Tell me about the first time you drove a car.
Upon arriving in the city of Avalon on Catalina Island, we got on a modified military Humvee and took a tour of the town of about 4,000 full-time residents with Andrew Quintana of the Catalina Island Company.
You can call me Andrew, Andy, Driver, Drew, you, Hey You, or Bison.
More about the name Bison later. The Wrigley family, yes, the chewing gum folks, acquired the majority of the Catalina Island Company in 1919, built a house and invested millions of dollars in the island. The Wrigleys happened to own a baseball team, so why not? Catalina Island was the spring training location for the Chicago Cubs from 1921 to 1951.
From the prom-fringed patio of the country club at Catalina Island, the National League champion Chicago Cubs leave for their nearby spring training grounds.
In the 1970s, the Wrigleys donated 88% of the land to the Catalina Island Conservancy for preservation. The island normally gets around 11 inches of rain per year. This year, they got more than double that number, which makes for an incredible, beautiful landscape.
Excellent. You're near 20 million people right now, because from Santa Barbara County.
The mountain road dates back to 1897. It was originally a 6-foot wide dirt road for stagecoaches. Our Hummer was 8 feet wide, counting the mirrors. The island is home to plant life you won't find anywhere else. We stopped and checked out a special variety of rosemary that looks a lot like dill that grows along the trail. Incredible fragrance.
What you're going to do is you're going to crush it in your palm.
Our tour was touted as an eco-tourism ride. It's interesting to find out that the local restaurants donate their used cooking oil that's then converted into biofuel right there on the island and used to run the Hummers. Charlie Chaplin used to be a pilot that would fly his guests to the island.
Well, the Island Company, we do these tours out here that take us into areas where you can come across wild North American bison. They are scattered throughout this island. There's only about 100 roughly around that number out in the hills, and it's always kind of a roll of the dice. It's like whale watching. You can't promise them, but they are there sometimes. So when we come across them, people don't yell Andrew, they yell Bison. And so kind of a nickname now.
Fortunately, we didn't find any bison while we were on our Hummer ride, but we did find one at the airport.
Catalina Island, from Long Beach to Catalina Island, it's 26 miles, which is the same distance it would take to go from downtown LA to Disneyland. There's 20 million people in Southern California, and they're all on the freeway. But you come out here to the island, it's a different world.
Human connection. That's what it's about. From cave art to doing videos on our phones for our grandkids. We're just trying to make a connection with people that we know and love. Sometimes these stories stand the test of time. Recently, I did a bunch of interviews with some veterans from a very special unit, the 159th Medical Evacuation Group called Dust Off, served in Vietnam. What is the value and the power of a story? Ask Mara.
It's priceless. It's priceless to me because when I was first sitting with the guys listening to their stories, it's something you just can't get back. And there's a lot of stories I wish I would have had recorded from my dad, my mom, my grandparents. So at least we were able to get these stories recorded. And to have them videoed and digitized is key, because the younger generation, you know, sitting with my nephews, doing homework with them over COVID, they weren't looking at books, they were looking at screens. And they can look at this on a screen.
Everyone has a story. This is Doug Jessop. It would be my honor to help you tell your family heritage story. Here's how it works. We'll schedule a professional interview at the same studio I do my TV show. We already have the broadcast cameras, audio, and lighting set up to ensure quality control. All you need to do is come to our Salt Lake City studio and we'll do the rest. Our professional editing staff will take out bloopers and add your pictures to create a private digital video for you to keep. Go to FamilyHeritageStories.com for pricing and to schedule your interview. What kind of values are you passing down to the next generation? I recently had a conversation with my granddaughter, and the subject of boys came up. Oh boy. Well, she has a list of 3 values that she's thinking are important. Number 1, be honest. Number 2, be kind. And number 3, be helpful. Pretty good list. What do you think?
Right here, right now.
What is Eric Dowdle thankful for?
Wow. Favorite question anybody's ever asked me, okay? Because I now know how I'll answer this. And has to do with something that I believe happens after we pass on. Imagine getting to the other side after all your life's experiences. You will walk up to people who you did not like, who caused you so much struggle and challenge and problems, anger, hate, all of those deep-seated emotions that were so difficult, and you will walk up to that person, and every time I think about it, I think of different people like that, and tears running down your cheeks. You will hug that person, and you will thank them for that experience that they gave you. Because I believe, again, your bad are just as important as the good, and I am thankful for those challenges, because now I look back and if it didn't kill me, yes, it did make me stronger, but that's not always the truth, because it can kill you. I've had 3 heart attacks along the way, but I believe that, where I look at all the people that have caused problems or struggles or challenges, and they're what helped me become who I am. And if you don't like who you are, then you need to look at those experiences different. Yes, I will enjoy and be thankful for all those who did good things for me. But really, the most growth I ever had, it's the challenges. So I believe I'm grateful for the experiences. That is it. I'm lucky to have had some really hard experiences and some amazing experiences. So and if you haven't forgiven somebody in your life, tell yourself that story, and hopefully it'll get you there. I think that's the most important thing we can learn, and you'll be more grateful when you see it that way.
There's a reason why people celebrate Scandinavian days or things like Day of the Dead. It's one word: culture.
With me today, this woman right here, Clara Hurdato, okay, fancy, okay. So I got to ask, Hurdato, what nationality is that?
It's Peruvian.
Peruvian?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's cool. I wouldn't have guessed that. So tell me about this song, this video that you're doing.
Oh, so the song is called Adiemus, and it was originally composed by Carl Jenkins, who is a Welsh composer, and he wrote it for a Delta Airlines commercial.
Exactly. I'm like, that's cool.
So yeah, when I mentioned the world music aspect that we wanted to capitalize on when we chose that song, but partly why I was interested in that is because of my Peruvian heritage. I really wanted to do something that drew upon that and expressed it. So Adiemus, it's kind of got a little bit of a Celtic feel, a little bit of a African feel with the rhythms and the drums. But to me, it feels like tribal, like it could be indigenous people from any culture.
Well, I have to admit, when I was, listening to this and watching it, I'm going, I could kind of imagine some of this little, the Peruvian panpipe, going, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I heard your name and going, okay, I thought it was Spanish, but Peruvian, okay, yeah, that works.
Yeah. Well, you're right. It is Spanish because that's where it came from originally. Yeah. So yeah, and as we were preparing to film the video, we had these beautiful girls in the children's chorus, and I was trying to figure out, how are we going to costume everyone? What kind of feel do I want? And I kept going back to Peru and other cultures, but I really felt like I can take ownership of that because it's part of me and without offending any cultures. So we found some clothing, some authentic Peruvian clothing for these girls. And the woodwind player, Darren Bradford, he's playing an authentic flute from Peru called a quena. And then just randomly, I was running a 5K, and afterwards there was a petting zoo and there was a alpaca.
Of course there was.
Yeah. So I met this cute alpaca. It actually kissed me on the lips. I was like, this is the funniest little animal. But I talked to Cameron, the director, and I said, "Hey, Cameron, is there any way we could get some alpacas for our video?"
Well, I do have to admit, Zach, the camera guy, he did ask, "Hey, Doug, are they going to bring any alpacas today?" It's like,
Oh, I should have asked, because I bet that they would have loved to come.
next time.
Yeah, these little alpacas, Mac and Cheese, are so affectionate.
Oh, okay.
They're adorable. And it was, it's hard to say, because I think my voice was conducive towards that, but I also started singing in an opera chorus when I was 6 years old.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I had those opportunities. And then as I got older, I branched out and I did a lot of choral music and a lot of musical theater and things, but it was kind of like, well, you can do this. You can do the high coloratura stuff. So, and my heart was in it too. Once I got past that stage of thinking it wasn't cool.
Mm-hmm. I warned you. I warned her. Okay, so don't think I'm being mean. Okay, a little command performance here, okay? One of my favorite pieces in Italian is this song where there's this young lady and she's just begging her father to help her get connected with her sweetheart. Okay, you know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, you want to tell a little bit about what it is, and then I'm going to ask you to sing some of it, okay?
Okay, thanks. So the opera is Gianni Schicchi, and the character's name is Lauretta. She's in love with Rinuccio, and his family is in the middle of this crazy battle over his uncle's will. Wozo Donati. It takes place in Florence. I don't know how much detail. Just plan on editing all that out.
What's it called?
Okay.
What's the song?
So the song is called O mio babbino caro from Gianni Schicchi. And Lauretta is begging her father to let her marry her true love. And she threatens that if he doesn't do it, she's going to take herself to the Ponte Vecchio, which is a famous bridge, and throw herself in the Arno.
Yep. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, okay, little sample right here, right now.
Okay, it's coming. O mio babbino caro, mi piace bello,
What would it mean to you to have a video of your mom, dad, grandma, or grandpa telling their story? This is Doug Jessop. It would be my honor to help share their story with a private in-studio interview with a video for you to keep. Go to FamilyHeritageStories.com for pricing and to schedule your interview. How do you want to be remembered? It's not just a question for old people, okay? I remember in junior high, we had a writing assignment to write down our own obituary. A little macabre, but at the same time, I understand now what they were trying to do. They were saying, what are you doing now? But also, what can you do in the future to make sure that you are remembered the way you want to be remembered?
Singing loud for all to hear. Joining us today is the North Front Sound men's a cappella group, Lighten Up. They've been on the show before, but this is my favorite time of year to have you gentlemen because it just puts me in the mood for the holidays. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Glenn, tell everyone how this got started.
Well, so North Front Sound is a barbershop course that actually got started in a garage in Kaysville with about 10 people, and that was in about 2014. And so since then, the group has just gotten bigger. We love singing barbershop. We love recruiting, getting anyone we can.
Describe barbershop, Bruce, for people that aren't familiar with it.
Well, barbershop is basically 4-part men a cappella harmony. Usually people will pick their part. Glenn sings the lead, I sing tenor, Dean sings bass, and John Lee sings everything else. So baritone. And usually the songs are usually fairly simple, but they go back to the old shave and a haircut type of, that's what I call it, barbershop. You know, and so that's basically what it is, 4-part men's a cappella, close harmonies, and then you really like to hear that resonance, and it's really quite difficult, but it's just so much fun. We've been doing this for a while.
Dean works with all of us here at ABC4. I had no idea you had such an incredible voice. Why did you want to be part of the group, Dean?
Well, it's the biggest part is it's a lot of fun. I mean, we have a blast singing together. And we have this big group of guys that are
Amazing
fun to
guys.
hang. Yeah, amazing guys that are fun to hang out with.
Were
and
you
we,
friends to
we
begin
sing.
with?
Not
Like,
really.
all four of us met at the chorus.
Yeah,
You know,
met
I
at the
found
chorus.
it. I moved to the area and just looked online, and it's one of the chapters of the Barbershop Harmony Society. So I thought, well, I haven't sung barbershop in a while. Found it, started going, and met up with this great group.
Because, John, you all have day jobs. What's yours?
I'm actually a dentist in Clinton.
Are you really?
Yeah.
And Dean, I know where you work.
Yeah.
Bruce, what about you?
I work as a handyman, actually, all over Davis and Weber County.
Okay, and Glenn?
I'm a therapist.
Are you really?
Yep, mental health therapist. So.
Okay, how does this help your mental health, gentlemen? Is singing good for the soul?
It really is, and they've done scientific studies. When it comes to singing, it works with so many endorphins. You use several parts of your brain, so I've got to remember the words, I've got to remember my notes, I've got to be in sync, you know, with my fellows here.
Okay, what happens when you're not in sync? Do you give each other a look?
Sounds bad.
Crusty, yeah.
A crusty look.
A crusty look. You know,
Like you're not doing well here.
Usually,
Or sometimes we stop, you know, we might have to restart.
Sometimes. Usually, if Glenn gets off, then we just kind of have to follow him because
right.
he's the lead.
Is it Glenn that gets off the most?
Well, no. He's usually always on, unless he forgets the words. He's got
It's
one
true.
job.
I got to remember. I
the words.
remember the
Okay,
words.
can you
forget
show
the
me?
words.
Can you sing? Like, I want to hear each of your voices come in one by one, maybe with the Good Things Utah theme?
Sure. And,
Okay.
and so you'll notice John Lee's using a little pitch pipe, so that gets us all on the right key. So he's going to play a C.
All right, John.
There we go. See, words. I got to remember the words.
Okay.
You're watching good.
Oh, wait.
To hear all the
okay.
tones.
One by one. Thanks, Glenn.
You're watching Good Things Utah on ABC Channel 4.
You each have these amazing individual voices, but when they all come together, it's magic.
And that is the magic of barbershop, is that each part is so important that, you know, we rehearse sometimes, and every once in a while, if one of us can't make it, we'll still try and rehearse, but it's like, wait, something's wrong.
It's
We're
not the
off.
same.
Yeah. What a day this has been, what a rare mood I'm in. Why, it's almost like being in love, There's a smile on my face for the whole human race. Why, it's almost like being in love, Oh, the music of life seems to be like a bell that is ringing for me. And from the way that I feel when that bell starts to peal, I could swear I was falling, I could swear I was falling. It's almost like being in love, Oh, the music of life seems to be like a bell that is ringing for me. And from the way that I feel when that bell starts to peal, I could swear I was falling, I could swear I was falling. It's almost like being in love, It's almost like being in love. Let me call you sweetheart, I'm in love with you. Let me hear you whisper that you love me too. Keep the love light glowing in your eyes so true. Let me call you sweetheart, I'm in love with you,
Have you ever wondered how something becomes important enough to be passed down to the next generation? There's a friend of mine, he's a rare book collector. He showed me his first edition King James Bible. Pretty impressive, okay? But then he walked me to the other side of the room and handed me a packet of papers and said, if that was our generation's treasure, what would be the future generations? Well, that pack of papers was a reading script for a movie later known as E.T. That is a treasures remembered. It's time for a conversation with Brandon Fugal. Welcome to this episode of Treasures Remembered. With me, Brandon Fugal.
This is a real historical artifact. It is a Nazi Enigma device from World War II. This was the latest, most state-of-the-art in coding of messages that gave them a competitive advantage for some time. The Enigma and the World War II effort was profiled in a movie in 2014 called The Imitation Game with Benedict Cumberbatch. It won the Academy Award and really featured how powerful this code machine was and how it struck fear in the Allies. Back in World War II, off the coast of Norway, was a farm, a family that was minding their own business one day, and the father saw a Nazi officer making his way through their backyard. Had the family rush into the cellar to hide, and saw this officer apparently go into the barn, and after a few hours of waiting in the cellar and hoping that this officer would leave, they came up and went out to the barn, found that he was not there, but up in the loft, hidden behind bales of hay, was what he described to his family as a typewriter. Went ahead and covered it with the tarp, where it sat for over 40 years until that man, who became a grandfather, ended up passing, and apparently the family called in an antique dealer to help them sell a number of the items. And when this item came up for inspection, the antique dealer was astonished. After checking the serial number, they found that this had been assigned to a submarine. Apparently, when that submarine came up lost, they assumed that all of the equipment, including the Enigma on the submarine, was gone as well. Little did they know that it had escaped ruin. The code that was last inserted, which is shown by the pins here, is still in place. So it is conceivable that an expert could actually pull up the original code that was being sent when this device was last used on that Nazi submarine, and is a reminder of really the sacrifice of so many to break the codes that were enabled by this cipher generating machine.
Objects with stories are treasures remembered. It's my honor to help people remember where they came from. To me, if stories aren't passed down from generation to generation, they become lost, and it's as though those people never existed. How do you want to be remembered? With another entry into Family Heritage Stories, I'm Doug Jessop.